Hello, everyone. My name is Marion with DTM Real Talk Channel. It's the channel that you can tune into, have the ability to listen to the thoughts of others about topics all over the world that touch every one of our lives. Everybody goes through basically the same thing. There is nothing new under the sun. So if you're going through, someone else has already been there. Maybe you can find hope. Maybe it's a pathway that can set you on the right road just by tuning in. So DTM Real Talk, just keeping it real. And if you like it, like us at the bottom, subscribe, and let us know just how we helped you. Just keeping it real. Nothing but love. Good evening, good morning, good noon, good night. We are back. This is DTM Real Talk, and we're just keeping it real. And I know y'all just bombarding my email with questions for Dr. Butler. Say hi to the good folks out there. We are back.
Good evening, everybody. It's so good to see y'all on Real Talk. Let's keep it real.
Let's keep it real. We're about to keep it real, y'all. Well, we bombed out last week on a question. I'm going to reread it. But Dr. Butler set the foundation for us for actually unifying our value system. Then last week, it was understanding what we have, understanding the value system, because if you don't understand who you are, then you don't know who to look for, what to choose, and none of that stuff, right? So he talked to us last week about understanding that. And it was amazing because, I forgot, y'all. Thank you so much. If this is your first I told y'all I'm excited. I get excited. Mufasa. Calm down. Calm down, Marion. If this is your first time chiming in, thank you so much. I appreciate you to the utmost. Please like, share, and subscribe every single Sunday at 6 o'clock p.m. And if you miss it, get it at 7, 8, 9, 10, whenever you feel like you want to hear some true and powerful content. Okay? So let's get back to relationships. Understanding, unifying our value system and understanding who we are and what we have. And anyway, this week, tonight, I think the last question that we stopped off with, it came in while he was talking, and I want to read it if I can find it. It was, what was it? Do you remember, Dr. Butler?
We had just finished answering the mood question about
about if a person is moody, how you deal with it. Yeah.
And we was talking about the mood question, and I want to say it was a trauma question. Person was asking.
I got it. I found it.
What do you do if?
I found it. The question was, dear Dr. Butler, sometimes my fiance does not validate my feelings. Once I express to him that I'm sometimes under pressure, he replies that I shouldn't have pressure since I don't work in the public sector. Speak to that one.
Well, there's multiple layers to this one.
Okay.
Notice that the relationship has to do with a fiance, okay? The deeper the relationship, the higher the expectation. This is the reason why the closer you are to someone, the more easily irritated we are with them. People treat you in different ways, but nobody can treat you as bad as those who are the closest to you because they're the most comfortable and their expectations are normally the highest. So when a person sees you as a fiance, their expectations have now taken a shift, and most people enter into a marriage promise without revalidating their value system and verifying what's important to them. And for most people, communication is key. Women communicate differently from men, okay? Men have this habit of being kind of fact-driven, information-driven, and we don't put a lot of fluff. Everything's quick and direct. Women have more of a warm nature. Their conversations are normally more caring, and they want you to understand details about it that sometimes men don't value. So sometimes it could be the woman actually not understanding that your fiance might not be wired to value some of the things that you value. If he wants to know if he's coming and he's like, hey, I want to know if you're going to be going to, to church on Sunday night.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, oh, let me tell you, that reminds me of a story. And she starts telling a story about going to church on Sunday night. He may listen to the story, but he's valuing the answer to his question. It was a yes or no dichotomous question.
More or
And
less,
many
it's
times,
safe to say that men are logical thinkers, more or less.
very logical thinkers. Men are very, very logical. Everything has to do with logic. It's on, off, yes, no. They want quick, direct answers for the most part.
Yeah.
Now, we have some men that are a little complex in some ways because they have so many men that actually raised without fathers.
Right.
And so they have a mix of their emotions. But for the most part, he might not value what she's saying entirely when he's asking for one thing and you give him something else.
Wow.
So, she doesn't feel valued. Some of that might have to do with it. And the second part of the question, what was that part? The second part?
It says, he replied that I shouldn't have pressure since I don't work in the public sector.
Now, this second part is a little callous, and it's kind of harsh because one of the things that men can do sometimes is be like lack in the warmth areas.
Right.
One of the things that the Bible does is it teaches men exactly how the value system of a woman starts, and it teaches women exactly how the value system of a man starts.
Okay.
It tells the woman to respect her man, right?
Okay.
And it tells the man to be affectionate
Yes, yes,
to
yes.
the woman.
Right.
It's bad that God has to command men to do that
Mm.
because sometimes when you're logical, you can miss out on being warm. And just because you got light doesn't mean you have warmth. And so for him to actually say, well, you shouldn't even do that, you da 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 da. Now, I would like to hope that he was being comical, but she sounded as if it was a problem because she raised it. And all she has to do is add detail to that system.
Mm.
Men respond quicker to her femininity than her masculinity. So if he's not putting value there, then let him know that this was something that was really important to me, and let him know that you care about it and allow him to rescue you.
Wow.
Mention it in a way where it allows him to be able to jump in and fix up what he messed up. And if he is your fiance, he wanted to marry you, he probably knows what to do.
Right, right. So let me ask this question while you're saying that. So is it safe to say that men have to learn that softer nature and women have to learn that men are logical thinkers? We have to learn about that from each
I would
other.
agree. I would agree because when it's not in your nature, you have to gravitate to it. And it
Right.
was easier earlier in our makeup as a country because we were very, very role based for so long. And everyone was trained. This is just what men do. This is just what women do. This is what the husbands do. This is what the kids do. Yes, they have to learn it. And
Mhm.
so women actually that learn this, they wound up being seen in a higher light, more virtuously, and
Mhm.
they're actually favored by more men. I
Yeah,
mean, because
I agree.
right now, yeah, I
I
mean,
agree with that.
guys have a different standard when it comes down to that stuff,
Yes.
right? And so women normally compare themselves socially, and men are just looking at the straight information. And
Hmm.
I'll throw out an example real brief in 30 seconds.
Go ahead.
If you ask a group of women, so on a scale of 1 to 10, what do you rank yourself? Right? Most of them are going to be nines and tens.
Uh-huh.
That's not how men think
Uh-huh.
at all.
Okay.
This is how men think. Men think like this. All women are fives.
Okay.
You're five. That's normal. If you look really, really, really beautiful,
Uh-huh.
you're going to be a six. If you're a supermodel, you're a seven. If you're a virtuous woman, okay, a woman who has virtue, she can manage her emotions.
Yes.
Okay, you're an 8.
Mm.
You're an 8. Okay, and if you if God has uniquely crafted this person to where they connect with you in such a way that you never have to even talk to them to tell them, right? Men are intoxicated by women who can anticipate their need.
Mm.
So those are 9s because they're tailored. They feel like they're custom fit to that man. And 10s don't exist. That's a unicorn.
Wow.
That's
That's
how men think.
that's how they.
Women socially, if you ask them that, they see it as, how do I want to be treated?
Right.
So you're asking me, what do I think I am? Oh, I'm a 9 or a 10 because you need to
That's
treat me
how I
like a
want to be
9 or
treated.
10.
That's how.
Exactly.
Yeah. Very good.
All
Okay.
right.
Okay. Impactful. That brings us to the next question. How does unhealed trauma from past abuse affect my ability to trust others in relationships?
Oh, that's a good one.
That's a
Uh,
real good one. I
oh,
actually
that's a
got
good
it
one.
3 times. I got it 3 times from different people.
Wow. Well, abuse is so powerful. As a matter of fact, most of our problems that we encounter and deal with have to do with that same issue. It's a big deal. Matter of fact, this one is so powerful. I'm going to paint a picture.
Okay.
Imagine you had surgery on your shoulder.
Okay.
And when you had surgery on your shoulder is very, very sore and sensitive. And then someone that you love that cares about you, they would never harm you. They come over and give you a hug.
Right.
And when they touch that shoulder, you're gonna jump and say, "Oh, what are you doing?"
Yeah.
They meant one thing, you experienced something else because of what you've been through.
Um,
That's what trauma does to people.
okay.
So when a person goes through trauma, you have 2 options. They get bitter or they get better.
Right.
If they get better, they've gone through a process of sensitivity, they've processed it, they've gained some knowledge, they've learned, and they now have gained some strength where they're no longer sensitive in that area and
Right.
they're able to be managed and they can function normally. If the person gets bitter, somewhere in the process, they got offended, they rebelled against the process God had for them, or they basically gave up on traveling the process and did not complete the
Mm.
training. And just
Therefore,
like in,
it comes out.
yep,
It manifests itself again in every relationship, man, woman, boy, or girl. Am I correct?
and it'll keep coming out. It'll keep coming out. And because that's a wound that never heals, because
Yes.
you never let it heal. You keep pulling off the scab, right? And dealing with it the wrong way. You can't. You have to allow it to heal. You have to take the right medicine. You have to clean the wound. See,
Yes.
they put dirt in the wound and it got infected. Now it hurts even more than it did when you came out of surgery.
Mm.
So
Wow.
when you're around dirty people that helped to hurt you in the past, it's strange. There's so many people that I've had to help, and in counseling, we see these cycles, right? There was a young lady who was molested by her uncle, and
Mm.
when she was molested by her uncle, the trauma of being molested by her uncle stayed in her mind so much that she didn't realize that people don't do what they think. They do what they don't do what they know is right. They do what they think about the most.
Mm.
And so by her not being able to process it, not sharing it, she became a girl who attacked and tried to sexually assault other girls
Mm. Right. Right.
because that's all she thought about was what he did to her.
Right.
When she healed from uh, her hurt, she released that cycle and she now all just needed to break the habit of thinking of girls in that way. And then she was able to heal from it. She married a guy. Isn't
Mm.
that strange?
Right. Right.
So
Yeah.
that's just an example.
Yeah, that's a very good example. And you know about the program that I have. And I've come across several women that kind of, because I share my story of how I was raped when I was 19. But
Yes, ma'am.
I'm able to do that is because I've come to a place
Come
of
on.
goodness. I've come to a place of freedom. I've come to a place
Yes.
of transparency through the power of God and allowing that to heal. But I said that to say this. A lot of times, what I've come in contact with lately in the past 6 years, since I'm 5 years since I've been home, is several women, either they do what you just said, they either are bitter because they did not allow it to heal, or and in their bitterness, one of the manifestations of their bitterness, they withdrew. They
Mm.
withdrawn. They're withdrawn and accusatory, if that's a word,
Yes.
because of the damage that was done to them. Then everybody else or every other man, because I deal with women, is that way. Every other man is the way you were treated because
Yes.
the wound has not been healed.
Yes.
So I'm seeing that clearer when you gave the analogy.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And that's a hurt. And there's a bravery that has to take place
Yes.
because you don't feel like trusting someone. But once your trust has been violated, you have to practice trusting to get good at trusting.
Yeah. That's a key word. Practice.
Practice.
Takes
And
effort.
you know, and just knowing that you had to go through such heinous situations that occurred to you, you know, how difficult was it for you to muster up the bravery to still gain male friendships and connections and stuff, as you become an adult?
Yeah. 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 It was very difficult in the very beginning. Yeah. Extremely difficult.
Mm.
And now it's like the best thing that could have happened to me, not the incident, but the journey.
Come on now. That's awesome. That's awesome. Huh.
Not the
So,
incident, but the journey.
amen.
Yes.
Amen.
Here's the other one. That actually answered the next question, really. Wow. Okay. Well, you did it already. In what ways might my past abuse cause me to react defensively or withdrawn? That was the answer.
Yeah.
Emotionally in my current. Yeah, we can look at that. You can give me
I,
some examples.
oh, I can look at that now. Since the question was asked, I get a chance to deal with something that guys don't deal with a lot.
Yeah.
You can hear ladies talk about it, it's less offensive, but you don't hear guys talk about it a lot. Right now, we are dealing with a whole culture shift. Um, there were men who were abusive to women, that took advantage of women, that were disrespecting women, that was, had 5 and 6 families and things like that. A lot of that stuff happened, and some of it was because of the struggles that we went through as a country and all these wars we had to go through. During the Depression, there were times when mothers who had children were selling their kids on the street,
Mm.
just to make sure that if somebody can buy my kid, then I don't care who they get, just as long as they can feed them, you know. And so their standards were quite different. And for half of a century, women didn't even really have rights. So it was a different situation. But now, as a flashback from that, there was a courtesy that, a whole wave of updates and liberations in order to teach men how to treat women went into effect. And now we're starting to see how that, when it's taught on women how to teach men, where men should know how to treat women, we have an issue where there's a lack of accountability now because the ladies are lacking the teaching of how they should carry themselves and how they need to be accountable. And so there's a paradigm shift. The violent traumas that are occurring. There's a lack of care, concern, consideration. There's a lack of love. Most of the squabbles and fights that are happening in schools, they're 80% female. 80%.
Oh.
And this is middle school and high school. Okay, this is a problem. Now we're starting to see more heinous crimes committed by women. All right, there's a mindset, and when a woman becomes bitter, if you notice, her nature starts to digress, and she becomes more aggressive and
Yes.
starts not acting in women by nature, the scientific, the neuroscience is that women are high in agreeableness. And
Mhm.
that agreeableness gives a care that allows them to be able to deal with a crying child that came out of your womb. And
Mm.
now we have children that are being drowned by their mothers that are putting kids in ovens and baking them. A lot of this is because we've had so many women who have been embittered, and nobody's teaching them how to get better because they're too busy telling the men how to act better.
Yeah.
But there is a needed teaching on when I've been hurt, how I need to do this, because God created men and women to work together, not depart.
Right. Right. Wow. Last question. Wow, that's deep. Let's see. There's actually three. Okay. We're gonna have, well, you said something about earlier how men and women think differently. And next week, actually, I think it's next week. Next week, we're gonna have Professor Daniels, Pastor Professor Mark Daniels, to come and talk about that. How men and women are different in their thinking, how they, what you just said, but he's going to go a little bit on the scientific side and the spiritual side. And so I'm excited about that, but I'm glad you're bringing him on. You're setting the stage here. So answer before we pull out. This one came in. I have a friend who has been married 3 times, and it's all about sex with her. She goes from one man to the other and is never satisfied.
Okay.
Speak to that. Where did that, what's going on with her?
When you find a woman who has basically characterized her image by sex, she was sexualized at a very young age. All of these women normally have the same thing in common. Whenever a kid is sexualized at a very young age, they're either raped, they're exposed to sexual behaviors. I see, I just got through talking to the Department of Children's Services about how people struggle because they had a family who had a 7-year-old who was exposed because she was taking care of a 7-year-old, prostitute was taking care of a 7-year-old and had the child left, in rooms with men there. The newest ways that women are raped now is people come over to the house and they give you your drugs and you allow the dope dealer to babysit your kid for the weekend. And that's one of the new rape things that's happening in pedophilia and child slavery. So when a woman is all about sex, she's been sexualized as a young child. And what normally happens there is whenever you're in a trash heap, you always want to be the top of the heap. She begins to find habits that make her good at the things she does. So she starts saying, this is something I'm good at. So she starts specializing in doing that thing around a new man. And she wants to find favor in that man by this thing that she does. But she doesn't realize that sex is not the way that you build a relationship. It is supposed to be covenanted and only granted by someone who you've already built a relationship with. And so if you expose the inward intimacy of sexual connection with a person you have no relationship with, you sabotage the process of growing them. It's just like taking a caterpillar that goes into a cocoon. You open the cocoon early and get into the intimate process, the caterpillar never hatches. It kills them.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. I hope you guys got your questions answered. I didn't even have any. I was so caught up with the ones that came in. So I wrote it just like you wrote them. And I thank you for them. And Dr. Butler, my son, Paul, so much. Thank you so much. This is DTM Real Talk, y'all. And next week, we're going to have Professor Pastor Daniels to come in and talk to us about the difference in the way men and women think. And he'll roll that a couple of weeks. And Dr. Butler and I, and a dear friend of mine, will come back and share with you and put put the legs on what we've been talking about.
Yeah, because it's good because we were identifying a lot of problems, but we didn't have time to really talk about how to solve them, how to fix them. So when you meet people who have those, it'll be good to know how you can help them in a practical way.
Absolutely. This is DTM Real Talk, and we're just doing what?
Keeping it real.
Keeping it real. See y'all next week. Thanks for watching DTM Real Talk. Be sure to join us for more conversation. And oh yeah, don't forget to hit that like button, share, and subscribe while you're there.